morning, Anna. Good morning, internauts. Today I would like to invite you to a meeting with a very special guest, Anna Ramos, the director of the Mies van den Rohe Foundation. And I must say that it is a great pleasure for me to meet you, Anna, because we have known each other for, I think, almost 7 years since you became the director of the foundation. I think that many of internauts are very familiar with your extensive activities, but nevertheless, I will give a brief bio. Anna Ramos studied architecture in Barcelona and Delft and holds a diploma of the advanced studies doctoral program in architecture, building, restoration and renovation at Catalunya University. She's the director of Foundation Mies van den Rohe since 2016. She's also associate professor at Escola Tècnica Superior de Architectura de Barcelona, at Catalunya University, and the international lecturer. She was the assistant dean at this university and the president of Young Architects Association of Catalonia, 2005-2008. She ran her own studio in Barcelona for 16 years. Before I give the floor to Anna, I would like to say a few words about the occasion on which we meet today. Please give us a picture. Yes. A month ago, I opened the exhibition Archicolage in the Zodiac Pavilion of Architecture in Warsaw. And next one. The exhibition is related to my work of many years, but it's not a retrospective. Archicolage is an exhibition about ideas, but also architectural temptations. Next, Tom. It is also a story about designers' attitudes and changing architectural priorities in the face of challenge of modern times. And next. And of course, there's what I'm particularly interested in, how debates, competitions, exhibitions, catalogs, books, and magazines influence the direction of architecture. And next, Tom. And next one. And next one. So a few pictures from the exhibition. And next one. And stop for a moment. So one important part of the exhibition is the reflection on the role of architectural competitions as they play in shaping architectural discourses, and the long run, they also influence the direction of architecture's development. And of course, the most important competition in Europe is the European Mies van den Rohe Award, which is awarded in cooperation with the European Commission. And we can say also that it is the most prestigious architectural award in the old continent. Next, Tom. So in the exhibition, next please, I discussed the rules of this award, but I'm also talking about changing criteria in historical perspective. And I am also showing awarded examples from the different years. And next, Tom. But I must say that Foundation is also involved in the broader activities. Here in the exhibition, we can see a photo from European Conference on Architecture and Media, organized in 2018, which I had the pleasure to curate together with Miriam Giordano. The meeting served as a forum for discussion, discussing the condition, the future, and the development directions of the media, as well as their impact in architectural issues. I think that also this example shows how extensive the activities of the foundation are. Please, next, Tom. So, Anna, how do you see the role of foundation of which you are the director. I know there was a conference 4 days ago on the 2023 plans, unfortunately only in Spanish. But I hope you will also present us the further vision. What are your plans for the near year and distant future? The floor is yours.
Thank you, Eva. Thank you very much for this nice introduction. And thank you for the continuous support to the task of Fundació Mies van der Rohe that you have given us, not only in Poland, but everywhere in Europe. And always you have had the opportunity. It has been great to cooperate with you. And also thank you as an architect for your role in disseminating the beauty and the need for architecture, which is something that we all architecture lovers need to disseminate every day, because daily life is sometimes struggling against intellectual discussions, and we need to bring what we know to the field of conversation of the broader public and society. So I prepared a bunch of images and slides to tell you about what we do, some of the main programs specifically related first to the Mies van der Rohe Pavilion in Barcelona. Secondly, I will speak about the European Union Prize for Contemporary Architecture, Mies van der Rohe Award, which is the most powerful tool we have to influence architectural policies in Europe and beyond. And I will, at the end, tell you about some of other programs that we are lately engaging and are maybe worth to be known by you. So this is the Barcelona Pavilion, built in 1929, designed by Ludwig Mies van der Rohe and Lili Reich, which were artistic directors of all the German section of the international exhibition at the Barcelona Fair. They curated all the different exhibition spaces. At that moment, they were very well known, especially Lili Reich, as exhibition designers, working together with the German industry, trying to create the new language of the new Germany. And they were also given the opportunity to design the National Pavilion of Germany in the grounds of the fair. So Mies van der Rohe chose this site and built for the first time a physical space which matched with all the new ideas he had. Because before that, he had, private clients. He was still into villas and exhibitions. But here he created something new, radically new, that set the standard for the next generations of architects. And this Barcelona Pavilion in 1929 was a seminal piece of architecture for Mies van der Rohe architecture and for modern architecture in Europe and beyond. So before going to this, years later, this building, of course, was deconstructed after the 1929 exhibition and disappeared physically, but was kept in the memories of the architects. It was kept in photographs. It was part of the international exhibition at the MoMA in 1931. And, created this myth, this icon of modern architecture. So years later, the Barcelona City Council, through its chief architect at the moment, Oriol Bohigas, in the 80s, created the Fundació Mies van der Rohe, which I'm the director now, to bring along the reconstruction of the Barcelona Pavilion exactly at the same place. And this was only possible through the cooperation of the MoMA archives, who had all the drawings and plans by Mies van der Rohe, and also through the German institutions like the SPK, the Cultural Foundation for Prussian Culture, and so through the, especially the Neue National Gallery, who are our partners and part of our advisory committee, like the MoMA is, all this was made possible. The reconstruction took place, the marble stones were cut from the same quarries that the original marble stones came from, the travertine, the onyx wall, all the elements. This is very important because there was a very strong research and aim to exactly build in the same place, because context is everything in architecture. So the context around had to be exactly the same. So it's the same place, and the natural materials like stone are not equal, but as most similar as possible, coming from the same quarries. Since the reconstruction took place in 1986, which was the opening of the Barcelona Pavilion, of course, there was at that moment a big controversy, which we don't deny. Like, can we reconstruct? Why should we reconstruct some pieces of architecture? And this debate, kind of 35 years later, we think it was good to do this reconstruction, because architecture can only be perceived when you are inside it, when you see it in person with your eyes, when you experience all the phenomenon that the building and the space creates on you. So after millions of visitors, most of them architects, we think it's great to have this space there. And I invite you all to come and enjoy it. But this space is still alive. So it's not only a monument, it's not only a lesson of architecture, which it is, but we keep it alive. And how do we want to keep it alive? We do invite artists and architects to transform the space and give new understandings to the same space. This is an intervention by Luftberg and Ickerhill, which is created through this old reticula of laser, which recalls the geometry of the pavilion, all the joints, of course, which are so important. But other interventions like this one by Mario Pasqualotto decided to emphasize in other also very important parts of the pavilion, like the horizontalness of the roof and these 8 pillars that support the whole thing and are so key and so magnificent. We also host other interventions. I don't see it very well in my image. I hope you're seeing it well. But those black stripes that I see, they shouldn't be there. Well, what is this? What did happen here? This was Mies Missing Materiality. That was the name of the intervention by Eugeni and Anna Bach, 2 very talented Catalan and Finnish architects. They proposed to us to deny the materiality of the pavilion. They turned it in completely white with these white vinyl stickers in all the marble, travertine, and metal surfaces. And it was incredible. It was amazing to be there and to miss the materiality that for me was so important. It is the Barcelona Pavilion. It's not only a concept, it's not only the geometry and the proportion. The materials and the texture of the materials were very, very important. That was the kind of work that Mies van der Rohe and Lily Reich did together, this total work of art where the geometry and the texture of the materials, the furniture, all together creates a unique piece of art in conjunction with nature. And this intervention, I'm just showing you a few of the ones we have done in the past. This was by Kazuyo Sejima, Sana, and it was an incredible intervention with this kind of glass, I'm sorry, not glass, of course, plastic curved surface that create an extraordinary effect, recalling all the reflections of the glasses of the pavilion, which of course are very important. And but at the same time, reminded us of one of the most celebration exhibition designs, one of the best exhibition designs by Lily Reich, which was connected to a glass manufacturer, and she created these incredible glass cylinders and organized all the space in the exhibition through those glass cylinders. So here Kazuyo Sejima was kind of at the same time paying homage to Mies van der Rohe, but also to Lily Reich, which is extraordinary. Other interventions we have had, and I think this is the last one I'm sharing with you. This was by Spencer Finch, the American artist, and the name here was Ryoanji, 15 Stones. This, of course, recalls the Japanese architecture, the Japanese traditional gardens in the pools of stones, and these big rocks that cannot be seen all at the same time. So there are 15 stones in the garden, but if you want, you can never see them all at the same time. You need to walk around the space, and then some appear and some disappear. And this was a beautiful, extraordinary feeling of understanding how important movement is in architecture. Our movement inside the buildings creates extraordinary opportunities for different perceptions. And that was the main thing. But we do not only host like physical transformations of the pavilion in our intervention program, but also we work with other disciplines like dance or music, choreographers, dancers. They extraordinarily show the potential of the spaces. It's unbelievable. You invite a dancer to dance in a space or with a space, and they manage really to stress the boundaries, to go for the limits that they have. It's great to work with artists because they have this ability of telling things that we architects sometimes we know inside, but we cannot express and show to others. And artists that have this extraordinary capacity of mediating with the audience and bringing emotion to it. And other kind of emotion is the music, for instance. We do host a number of concerts, we could say, or jam sessions, or call it whatever, in the Barcelona Pavilion with different types of musics, but we always try to focus very hard on the music of the 1920s and experimental music. So we have had all these jazz sessions, but also John Cage in the piano, or a dodecaphonist, or any kind of research, because the Barcelona, why do we do these very experimental interventions, because the Barcelona Pavilion was an experiment, was pure innovation, was pure trial and error. And therefore, we think it has to be kept as a platform for experimentation and trial and error and mixing arts, design, and architecture all together. So that's how we see it. And this is a very, very popular program. In the summertime, we do organize open air cinema sessions. This is just before getting dark. We have to wait until it's dark, and we have a program of movies through the summer months. Movies, well, cinema is incredible. The capacity that the cinema and the audiovisuals have to transmit the feelings of one space. And at the same time, it's extraordinary how important is the physical space and the city in the storytelling of the movies. So this is exactly what we look for. And then we have had some years where we had guest cities, like we have had Berlin, for instance, in the past, and all movies were happening in Berlin, sometimes outdoors, sometimes indoors, but we had a nice collection of movies where architecture played a role. Other times we had also Rome as a guest city, for instance, and this summer we're having Copenhagen because it's the world capital of architecture by UNESCO UIA, this 2023. So we will have a number of extraordinary movies where Copenhagen as a city, or the way the houses are there, is one of the main characters of the movie. But other times the movies are not based in cities, but in topics, like trying to understand how the physical construction creates different societies and different ways of organizing our daily lives. And all this is, of course, very important in terms of social or political terms. So yeah, that's also a very nice program. And for children as well, we have a number of workshops and activities. This is what you see here. You cannot see it well, but it was a session of puppets. It was puppets from 1920s, kind of a Bauhaus puppets. And it was very successful. And it was great to have the opportunity to see this in the Barcelona Pavilion. So we are programming from time to time. This is one of the latest interventions we have had. It's called Mass is More. It's about mass timber, and it deals with the way wood and timber construction is getting into contemporary architecture and all the debate around it. Can we solve everything in wood? Is there wood enough for all the construction sector? Are the advantage of wood construction same everywhere in the globe? This was done in collaboration with IAC and Bauhaus der Erde, and it was very deep research, which was very nice to have, and it created a big impact. This, what you see here, it's not the onyx wall, but it's wooden layers that have been carved. So different types of wood create different patterns and different colors. So it was kind of a recreation of the onyx wall, but made in wood. And also it was not flat, but it had some volume. It was an extraordinary effect. But more than that, and I think I can have a pointer here. Well, it's okay. More than that, we created kind of a pavilion on top of the pavilion, a wooden pavilion on top of the pavilion. So we created kind of one extra layer that did not rely on the travertine wall. We left like 2 centimeters of space. This was pure cantilevered rooftop there on top of the Barcelona pavilion. It created an extraordinary new perspective of the Barcelona pavilion, because you could enter through the garden and in the middle of the trees, let's say, and go to this level above the standard level where we are. So this was kind of this wooden passerelle and the structural walls that were supporting the cantilever floating on top of that. And at the same time, we had this research on the carbon consumption or creation or depletion of different materials. So we had comparing wood with travertine and with other materials of the pavilion. I now go, so that was the program on, that's the kind of activities we do in the pavilion itself. In Barcelona, you're all invited. And now I go for what do we do out there in the European continent. And we, of course, organize the European Union Prize for Contemporary Architecture, Mies van der Rohe Awards, which is a very long name, but we also have this short name. These awards were created back in 1988 and became very, they were created already with an European aspiration and became the official European Union Prize sometime later. It takes place every 2 years. And we in the last edition, we did receive more than 500 nominations of built works of architecture coming from 41 countries, which is not only the EU state members, but all of those that have a cultural agreement. Works done by more than 600 architecture studios, European architecture studios. It has to be European authors in European countries. That's the scope of selection. We do this with the help of all the National Association of Architects and almost 100 independent experts. So altogether, they create this list of nominators, which are key. If we do not get good, interesting nominations, we cannot get a good, interesting winner of the award. So it's very important, the role of these independent experts in the beginning of the process. And of course, we have the help of 15 advisory committee members, which are museum directors of architecture museums all across Europe. The first Mies van der Rohe Award winner was Álvaro Siza with the Banco Borges and Irmão in Portugal. And this, what you see in the image to the left, is the mayor of Barcelona at that time, Pasqual Maragall, because I didn't mention, but well, I think I mentioned before, but Fundació Mies van der Rohe is kind of a part of the Barcelona City Council. And this man, Pasqual Maragall, was the mayor that really created the possibility of transforming the city after all the darkness of the years of the dictatorship, with the new coming of the democracy. Pasqual Maragall, together with his chief architect, Oriol Bohigas, really transformed democracy into the built space of the city of Barcelona. They really thought that the built space and the quality of built space had to be for everyone. And that was one of the reasons why Barcelona gained back its position in the international sphere through architecture. Other winners of the award have been, of course, coming to Barcelona and celebrating in the Barcelona Pavilion every month of May, every 2 years. an extraordinary meeting, a gathering of friends from all over Europe, but also from locals, Barcelonians. We create an open door event in the piazza in front of the Barcelona pavilion. This was the moment when Lacaton, Vassal, Hutin, and Drouot got the EU Mies award in 19, and it was an extraordinary moment of celebration, as it is always this year. The last edition was with the Grafton, which, by the way, let me remind you that next 9th February, we are having the opening of the EU Mies Award exhibition that will be hosted at the townhouse of the Kingston University, which is exactly the winning project of this edition, of the current edition, done by the Grafton, the Irish female architects, which are extraordinary and referential for all of us. And we are very happy to have the exhibition in the winning building. So if you are in London in February, don't miss the opportunity to see that exhibition. Other exhibitions that we do curate, because we have this extraordinary collection of architecture models and drawings and photographs and videos and everything about the shortlisted and winning and finalist architecture works. We do curate from time to time extra exhibitions focusing on some specific points. In this case, it was a cooperation with the Maritime Museum here in Barcelona. So we curated this exhibition about architecture on the waterfront and how the place for contemporary architecture in Europe has been usually in old industrial areas near the water, the river, the sea, the port, that have become places for contemporary architecture. Or other times we create specific exhibitions for national governments. We did something similar in a small version in Poland, for instance, some time ago. And this is one we did for the Spanish government, like looking at the national architecture through the lenses of the EU Mies Award that has an international jury and provides a neutral vision of the evolution of architecture in one country. And this is the last, I think, example of exhibition I have, which was co-created with La Cité de l'Architecture in Paris, and that focused on the transformation of large housing blocks, which have been the winners in 2017 and 2019 of the EU Mies Award. The winners were these two blocks, one in Amsterdam in 17, the other in Bordeaux in 19, which were huge concrete housing blocks that were about to be demolished. And in both cases, through a wise intervention of the architects, of the clients, of many stakeholders involved, made it possible that those buildings were not destroyed, but had a second opportunity of being better than they had been before. And this was extraordinary. And this is what we showed in this exhibition in Paris. In Dubai 2020, for instance, in the expo in Dubai, the European Commission asked us to create some exhibition explaining European architecture. And we decided to put the focus again in these transformation strategies and the focus on European architecture as a caregiver. Architects in Europe, we try to improve the city. We work with the existing context. We focus very much on the urban context, social context, built context, to transform and improve the cities and improve the architecture. We, differently to other continents or other places where what is happening and they just erase everything and build brand new without any connection with the local identity or the local materials or the local technologies. We see a huge effort in our European architects to to be aware of the context. And that is something that we wanted to stress. The youngest category of the EU Mies Award is the Young Talent Architecture Award, which goes to diploma projects. So it's European architecture schools, but also landscape, urban planning, city planning. They nominate their best diploma projects, and there's an independent jury that chooses the best ones, and they are presented in Venice in our exhibition and in a collateral event that this year will take place in June, at the end of June, but the exhibition will be there in Venice from May until November. So I hope you have the opportunity to see it and to share with us this important event where the more young practitioners are presenting their ideas towards the future and what for them is the present. This year, we will have a special edition. As a guest, we will have African schools, students and diploma projects from African schools. We have done this in the past. In previous editions, we have invited Asian schools, or in the next edition, we invited Latin American schools. And in this time, it's the moment for African schools, and we're learning a lot through this process that is already open, and schools are already nominating, sending their projects. These are some of the images. And to finish, this is the most recent project of the Fundació Mies van der Rohe, which is an homage to Lili Reich. The lady you see in the middle, it's Lili Reich, with her students in the Bauhaus, where she was teaching in 1930 and 31, and just before the closing of the school by the Nazi regime. She had an extraordinary role as design partner of Mies van der Rohe. They started working together by mid-1920s until the end of 1930s, around 15 years of a professional cooperation where they merged their careers. They had an independent career, each of them, when they met, and they started to cooperate because she was part of the board of the Deutscher Werkbund, and Mies van der Rohe was commissioned to the Weissenhof in Stuttgart, and they started cooperating then, and they kept through the design of exhibitions in the Barcelona Pavilion, in the Tugendhat House, in other exhibitions later in Berlin and in Germany. And it was it was a magic moment where they could bring together their different approaches and created something unique for the rest of the story of architecture. So she deserves homage. She was somehow lost in the storytelling of the 1950s, 1960s. It was a moment, where Mies van der Rohe, that had moved to America, he had a lot of success, of course, as an American architect. And her story, because she died very early in 1940 something, and her story was somehow forgotten. And we work hard. We think she deserves a role, and that's why we created the Lili Reich Grant for Equality in Architecture, which in the first two editions was specially focused on knowing more about her and about her work. And it's a special research grant because the fellows don't only do research, but they have to show it to the audience, to broader audiences, not only to academic researchers. So in the first edition, the fellow proposed this extraordinary transformation of the Barcelona Pavilion, and she proposed to remove the glass wall that is the skylight that is here usually, and instead recreate one of the furniture designed by Lily Reich for the 1929 Barcelona exhibition. This was the kind of furniture that was in the interior spaces of the German fair, of the German section of the fair. The second edition of the Lily Reich focused more in what the magazines have said about her, the architecture and design magazines and media have said about her when she was alive. And they presented it in a form of an audiovisual, a documentary, which is an extraordinary documentary. And it's now being displayed on different festivals and also institutions and architecture schools all over the planet. So we are, if you are ever interested in it, we can share. It's not open online yet. It will be, but by now what we are doing is organizing presentations in interested institutions. Of course, this is something coming from the Velvet and Silk Cafe that they created together. But the third and last edition of the Lily Reich Grant for Equity in Architecture will be focused on the research of and this is new, of a female architect who is still alive, who was a predecessor in participatory processes in the 60s, who has been a feminist always, a radical feminist even, I would say, and that has a very special practice based on her being a musician, an architect, a mathematician. It's a very extraordinary figure, and she is Anna Bofill. She is sister of Ricardo Bofill, and together they worked in the most geometrical mathematic years of their studio, and giving as a result some of the most extraordinary pieces of architects that we have locally. This time has gone a little bit more local, the grant, and the fellows have just started now working on this, and will be presented in the form of an exhibition probably next year. So by this, I think I have spoken far enough. We have some numbers about the kind of numbers of visitors and people with whom we work, and we have our web pages, social media. You're all invited to follow us and to subscribe into our newsletter if you want to receive more information. We have to thank all of our sponsors and partners, institutions. And just to finish with a beautiful image, this is our latest partnership kind of agreement we are creating or trying to create, or we have an informal platform of all the institutions that take care of the Mies van der Rohe heritage in Europe. This means we are having here Stuttgart and Brno and Berlin and ourselves together working for the dissemination of this extraordinary architect. So thank you very much, and I'm open to any question you might have.
Thank you very much, Anna, for your presentation. I'm very impressed. And I also impressed with all this intervention in the space of pavilion. It is amazing, as you said, that the pavilion is not only the monument, but also the space which is alive. It is very, very important, because it is why we admire architecture, good architecture, when it is alive. And I strongly believe that Mies van der Rohe Foundation has been a guide in the world architecture for years, also in the difficult reality of recent years that we have to deal with all these changes and challenges, for example, climate challenges, or also with the war so close to us. Thank you so much. I see that we have comments and questions. I think that you see them also, but I will read. Grzegorz Buczek, known Polish urbanist and architect, asked you, I visited the pavilion some years ago during one of the Multiply Barcelona's international events. I wondered to what extent the pavilion is accepted and used for any strictly local events, attended mainly by the Barcelona's citizens.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the question. And this allows me the opportunity to tell about it. We created very recently a program of open doors, which means that every Sunday, first Sunday of the month, the visit to the Barcelona pavilion is for free for everyone. And that means that those days we have a very high number of local visitors, because as you know, and this is connected to the pressure that a touristic city has in the locals. And we really believe that our locals deserve to be also visitors in in the main monuments in the city and take profit of that. So that's why we create open doors at least once a month, but we do it more often because when there are the main festivals in the city, again, we reproduce these open doors. But not only that, we have a number of family workshops that are mostly for locals, for local families. And we also have a very good, in my opinion, school program. So we do have all the local schools coming and having a very special activities where they learn not only about the pavilion itself, but about the way architects think and design and what do they try to do when they create architecture. So that's why we have always, we keep an eye in the locals, always.
Thank you so much. And we have very nice comment here. Agata Sieluk writes, thank you for introducing Lili Reich and bringing her work into the spotlight. I would be interested in learning more about her. The Lili Reich Grant for Equality is a brilliant idea. And Grzegorz Buczek once more have a question. How would you evaluate the pavilion's technical solutions, materials used therein versus today's demands and challenges of climate energizing demands?
Well, I like that question because I am, as you said, I am professor in architectural technology, so it's not only history and but if we go straight to the architectural construction, first remember that the pavilion is an open space. Even the indoor hall, it's not indoor because it has permanent openings towards the small pond in the back, so it has no climate control. It doesn't have heating nor cooling. So in this sense, it's zero energy demanding. This, of course, means that we cannot use it as a place for events in some moments of the year. But at the same time, I want to point how well, I mean, in terms of climate design, is a very good building The big cantilevers provide very good shadow on the glass facades. So in terms of Mediterranean climate, that's extraordinary in the summertime because it prevents overheating. But instead, in the wintertime, the sun is low and then it gets into the space through the glass and provides this natural kind of heating. And also in terms of lighting, having this skylight, this white glass wall that gets light and provides natural light everywhere in the space. So in these terms of climate control, and this is this is not very often mentioned, but it's a quite good passive architecture example. Also having the pond in the back, it creates air circulation. It's interesting. I suggest you to have a look at it in terms of architectural technology and climate control. Yes.
Thank you. I have one more comment from Marcin Szczelina, you know him. Thank you for the lecture. I hope that Polish architecture will continue to be so visible in the competition and in the activities of the foundation. Of course.
Of course it will, as far as, I mean, it's not our merit, it's your merit that you are doing well. We see a rise in the quality of Polish architecture if we look through the story of the years of the prize, and we see new generations of Polish architects creating very interesting pieces that are shortlisted, and you have been also, we have had examples also as a finalist and winners even. So congratulations to you, and we would be more than pleased of keep hosting Polish architects, designers, artists as cooperators.
Thank you so much. In this context, I have one question more, because you were speaking also about young talent category and young architects. If you only had to give one single advice to young architects, what would it be?
It would be to stay curious and hard workers. So if you keep curiosity and you work hard, but when I say work hard, I don't mean a lot of hours. I mean with a lot of responsibility and trying to learn as much as you can before getting any decision. But this going connected to curiosity that brings innovation and brings ambition for change. So curiosity and hard work.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Anna, and I hope to see you soon and wish you many great projects, of course. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Eva. Thank you for having me.
Bye.